Good evening. Tonight I'm excited to share with you this beer. Oh, Alameda Island Brewing Company's Uncommon Common. This is a Kentucky Common with 5.7% alcohol by volume. I was excited when I saw this come up on the beers for that were available on Hopsy because I've never had a Kentucky Common, and luckily it's on the BJCP style guideline, which is super cool. And so I read a smidge of information about it, probably not as much as I could have, should have, would have. Oops. But it sounds a lot like a lager in that it tends to be. Well, actually, I'll share that at the end, I think. So we'll go through this and we'll see how this taste. So what did I say? I lost the paper. 5.7% alcohol by volume. So the range for this style is about 4 to 5.5. This is a little high for the range. I don't have the IBUs, although it might be listed on the Hopsy website. I never think about this in advance. Hopsy. Okay, let's see here. Uh, 30 IBUs. Sorry for that taking so long. So the style calls for about 15 to 30. So it's right on the top of the IBUs and a little over on the alcohol content. I poured this and didn't get a lot of head. Even though I specifically washed this glass to make it beer clean. So either it's not heady or this glass is not beer clean. So aroma, and unfortunately I'm cooking chicken tikka masala right now, so it smells like curry. So hopefully I can smell through that. I get a lot of sweetness out of this, malty sweetness. And a lot of curry. Almost has a fruitiness to it, if I'm smelling this correctly. Color-wise, it's a pale brown, almost amber color, right on style for this, and pretty clear. It doesn't appear to be hazy at all, very nicely filtered. It's just a little bubbly. I don't see a super lot of bubbles going on in there. And then, like I said, it didn't pour with the head, although I wasn't necessarily paying that good of attention, and and it says that the head does dissipate, so I have like a skull that's floating around in here, which I totally can't even show you because it's the wrong angle, but it's cool from my perspective. Alright, so let's taste this. You see this skull? Actually, this eye just kind of melted, but eye, nose, see how it's spinning, and so, anyway, okay.
No, you're crazy.
Yeah. Alright. This is an interesting and complex beer. And don't run around with that in your teeth, please. It says it's made with an amount of corn grits to dilute the excessive proteins. Like it's grainy, biscuity, definitely. It has kind of a bready flavor to it.
Biscuits? Gravy.
Landon here's thinking of biscuits and gravy now. Anyway, it has this super rich, deep graininess to it and a maltiness. It's definitely on the sweet side. Um, this is a really interesting beer style. I think it's a pretty cool beer style. And it says that it has some New York hops in it. Not this brand specifically, not this brewery specifically, but um, this style. And so, not that I would be able to taste hops necessarily by region. I feel like the hops are very mild. Not even mild like low, medium, mild, medium, high, but just soft and gentle. It does have a hop finish. But just enough to kind of brighten up the sweet denseness of the beer itself. Mouthfeel, very carbonated. This is a very carbonated beer. It's definitely bubbly in my tummy. And it has this kind of creamy, thick, almost syrupy texture to it, which is actually kind of a cool thing. But nice and soft. It's not like drinking syrup, but you're like, oh, this beer is thick, I guess, Anyway, it's very interesting. I like the fact that the style guidelines suggest that it has a dry finish and an interesting character of malt flavors. Character malt. And that really does describe it exactly. It's this beer that has a nice depth of flavor, and which I really appreciate in a beer, particularly in the malt category, of the malt variety, I should say, and that's cool. I like that, and it's generally a sessionable beer, although at 5.7, is that what this is? 5.7. It's probably not necessarily sessionable so much. But it's very, very carbonated. So this is not a beer that you would like jump around after drinking necessarily. I think it's pretty cool. Since it's my first time trying this, I just want to share with you the comments and history of this style. It says modern characterizations of the style often mention a lactic sourness or sour mashing, but extensive brewing records from the larger breweries at the turn of the century have no indication of long acid rests, sour mashing, or extensive conditioning. This is likely a modern home brewer invention, based on the supposition that indigenous bourbon distillers use sour mash. Beer brewers also have used this process. No contemporaneous records indicate sour mashing or that the beer has a sour profile, rather the opposite, that the beer was brewed as an inexpensive present-use ale. And so sour versions are going to be an American Wild. So this is not a sour beer, should not be a sour beer. And that deep body that it has, that thick body that it has, really is characteristic of this nice malting that's happening, and the 35% corn grits. So history. A true American original style, Kentucky Common was almost exclusively produced and sold around Louisville, Kentucky metropolitan area from some time after the Civil War up to Prohibition. Its hallmark was that it was an inexpensive and quickly produced ale, typically 6 to 8 days from mash to delivery. The beer was racked into barrels while actively fermenting and tightly bunged to allow carbonation in the saloon cellar. There is some speculation that it is a variant of a lighter, common, or cream ale produced throughout much of the East prior to the Civil War, and that the darker grains were added by the mostly Germanic brewers to help acidify the typical carbonate water of the Louisville area, or that they had a preference for darker colored beers. Up until the 19th century, Kentucky Common was not brewed in the summer months unless cellars, usually used for malting, were used for fermentation. Just for heat purposes, it needs to be it needs to be cooler for fermentation purposes. With the advent of ice machines, the larger breweries were able to brew the beer year-round. In the period from 1900 to Prohibition, about 75% of the beer sold in the Louisville area was Kentucky Common. With Prohibition, the style died completely, as few of the larger breweries that survived were almost exclusively lager producers. And so, cool little bit of history there. I had assumed, based on Kentucky Common, that we would be thinking a lager style beer, or that it would have that it would taste a lot like a bourbon would, and neither of those things are true in this style. And it's a very interesting and robust and complex style that I really have enjoyed drinking. I'm super excited that I had a chance to give this a try, and that it was available locally to me. So very cool. I think this and the California Common, which is the steam beer, are really interesting little glimpses into history, where the regional preferences, of course, that always comes into play, but availability of grains and yeast and hops, but then also the temperature, the availability of yeast again, really drive the style of beer. So that's a pretty cool little factoid there. Very cool. So there's some information about the ingredients, which are super interesting. But you should just try it, And so locally to the Bay Area, you're able to get Alameda Island both at the brewery and through Hopsy. Hopsy does deliver if you're in San Francisco or the west part of the East Bay, or you can pick up in their Albany store. Check them out at what is their website? It's something sf.hopsy.beer, which I'm surprised I don't have memorized. Anyway, so cool brew. Great job to Alameda Island, whose Doolittle double IPA is one of my most favorite beers thus far. And this beer is real close to making the favorites list, but I don't know if it's going to make it there necessarily. Anyway, great beer. Commercial examples, there's only one listed in the style guide. And it's Apocalypse Brew Works Ortels 1912. So there you go. If you have tried this beer, please share with me down below. Or if you're a fan of the Kentucky Common style, let me know. Jay, if you're watching this, I think that you'll like it, the Kentucky Common style. I think it's a really interesting style of beer, so I would love to hear your opinion as well. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Thanks, Alameda Island, for such great beers. Thanks, Hopsy, for distributing these beers and making them more widely available to the beer-loving community. And have a great day. Bye.